You know, the good thing about making it all the way to the finals, you don't have to sit around for the offseason. You don't have to wait too long. We're going to get right into it. Plus, it's the 10-year anniversary of Locked On. And we got something special planned for you all in the third segment. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On Spurs. My name is Matthew Tynan. Thank you, as always, for making us a part of your day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, in celebration of Locked On's 10-year... Look, we've been here for like 2.5 months, maybe going on 3 months. Locked On's been around for 10 years now, and we are grateful that they have included us in their continued domination of the local sports podcast space. And we will be celebrating today by, look, we need to get some of the bad taste out of people's mouths, right? So why not the top 10 playoff moments in Spurs history? And by the way, we know we're going to end up leaving some out. We want y'all to contribute in the comment section what you think we did leave out, what you'd like to submit instead. It should be fun. There's a lot of good moments to remember, that is for sure. We're also going to start sort of our postseason, off-season player profile, where guys impacted the Spurs this season, where they need to get better, what needs to change, yada, yada, yada. And we're starting with Dylan Harper today because, frankly, like, that's just who I want to start with. He had an unbelievable season, and I want to jump straight to that. But first, there has been a ton of noise, and understandably so. This is what happens when you lose in the finals, when you lose in the playoffs, no matter whether it's the finals, the Western Conference Finals, the semis, the first round, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be a visceral reaction to it. It's just part of fandom. It's part of sports. And when it's the finals, just considering the number of eyeballs that are on it and considering the number of people who are sort of parachuting out of nowhere to give their takes after not watching a team all season or frankly following them in any capacity at all. This is what happens when you are the only fish in the fishbowl. And we've obviously seen the byproduct of that over the last few days. And I think that at a certain point, everyone calms down. Everyone takes a deep breath. And by the way, that's players in front office and coaches included. Just like media, just like fans, everybody has a chance to catch their breath. And I wanted to start off today with the way that it feels like the Spurs are going to go this offseason. Just, look, this is all so fresh that we haven't even really had a chance to sink in or talk to people around, whether it's the team or people familiar with stuff, just having conversations in general, which is kind of how things go after the season is over, but usually not right away, not when the wounds are fresh. But right now, if you're asking for my somewhat informed opinion on this, you don't break up depth. If anything, you add to it. The NBA has taught us over the last several years now that depth has never been more critical at any point in the history of the league than it is now. We see on a year-over-year basis how many players get hurt because of the extreme pace of play, the demanding schedule. You need bodies. And like, you can go back to last season. You go back to the year the Celtics won. It's really in the last several years where we've noticed this uptick in the necessity for depth. Even like, you look at the Indiana Pacers last year, a team that most did not, forecast making the finals. One of the reasons they were able to get to the finals is because they had waves of depth. It's one of the reasons Oklahoma City, as good as they are, one of the reasons they are so good. We saw it in the series, the Spurs-Oklahoma City series a couple of weeks ago. Even without Jalen Williams, even without A.J. Mitchell, they still took a largely outside of maybe De'Aaron Fox and really Dylan Harper to an extent. But still, they took a largely healthy Spurs team to 7 games. You need depth. And one of the things that was exposed in the finals is that the depth San Antonio had, while it did them well during the regular season, was not nearly enough during the finals. By the end of it, it went about 6 or 7 men deep. I actually thought Luke Kornet was okay against New York, but against Oklahoma City, it was a different story. All that space, you need to find a different type of big that will be able to match up when teams go with those 5-out approaches. They did not get nearly enough from Keldon Johnson in these playoffs. Carter Bryant just was too green. So by the end of it, like, you get the point. This was a team that could only go about 6 or 7 deep at best and be able to count on the guys who were on the court. I also think, like, lost in all the De'Aaron Fox discussion is the Spurs believed their superpower outside of Victor Wembanyama, obviously, was that 3-headed guard combo. That at any point you have at least 2 guys on the floor that are advantage creators. And up until the very end, like, it was a superpower. It's one of the things that helped them get to the point that they were. It was their strength that they had over a lot of other teams. It's one of the reasons when they were entering the Thunder series, people thought that, like, oh no, they definitely have a chance, because Oklahoma City's strength is that they have those waves of perimeter defenders, those waves of guards. San Antonio has the offensive guards to be able to counter that strength. And I think that, like, largely at the end, we saw that. And unless the absolute perfect trade scenario comes along, like, and I'm talking, of course, about De'Aaron Fox, unless the absolute perfect trade scenario comes along and they get out in front of what is going to be a salary crunch eventually, it's heading their way, whether they like it or not, in a few years, due to the punitive luxury tax payments that not even teams like the Boston Celtics, the Golden State Warriors, these money printing large market teams, not even they are willing to pay those penalties. You can't create and maintain any sort of super team in today's NBA due to the exorbitant roster costs. Not that the San Antonio Spurs were a super team or anything like that, but you understand the point. You can't just keep building and building and building without having to sacrifice somewhere along the way. So unless they find a deal that is such a no-brainer, that gives them something that not only keeps them from having their runway in terms of picks. Again, this will be a discussion for another day. We have plenty of time to talk about offseason stuff, but San Antonio is not just going to shed a whole bunch of picks if that's what it would take to, like, just to unload a De'Aaron Fox. Like, they still believe in that dude. They did not commit to trading to him, commit to paying him if they didn't believe in him. And they are not going to simply bail because of a few bad games in the finals. I know they were painful and they were bad, and you count on a guy like that to be better, but, like, the whole team was bad. Everyone was bad. Coaching staff struggled. Like, it was a struggle all the way around. So in the end, friends, they were 3 wins away from a title with a bunch of kids leading the way. You add to that, you don't mess with the construct before you have to. Ahead of last season, the Spurs would have told you that they could be good this past season, but realistically, they were on a 2 to 3 year plan for contention. They jumped that line, but that time frame is obviously still in place. This is where you allow development to take its course with Victor, Steph, Dylan, Carter, those guys in particular. I'm not leaving out Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, guys who still have room to grow and mature in their games. But you let development take its course and reap the benefits of continuity by keeping the same people around. You add another piece in the draft. You continue to build in the margins by using the mid-level exception, the biannual exception, and any smaller scale trade that materializes. San Antonio obviously made an important commitment to Kornet to add to the rotational depth behind Victor. But beyond that, they mostly kind of filled the roster with bodies you need for the regular season, but who are like on expiring contracts. So they will have room to maneuver. Long story short, you don't overreact here. This team is in a perfect spot right now. And a few games out of the finals shouldn't just completely change your course or the way you approach this stuff. I understand the frustrations regarding De'Aaron Fox and then some others. Like, there's plenty that we could get into, and it's warranted. I say the criticism is warranted only to an extent. Some of the stuff you see out there is just wild. But at this point, you're riding with what got you to where you were ahead of schedule, because ultimately changing the construct of what you've built might take away from the depth, the opportunity to continue to buy depth, to add depth. And the Spurs want to keep that three-headed guard monster around. They believe that they have an advantage there that most NBA teams don't. And we saw it through the course of the postseason. Teams that didn't have the secondary ball handlers that San Antonio has, they're the ones who fell at the hands of the Spurs. And in a league, like I said at the top, that has never been faster, that has never been more physically demanding, you need the depth. You need the bodies. You need as many ball handlers as you can get, because if you don't have those guys, you're sunk. And unfortunately, like I said, unless the perfect trade comes along, San Antonio isn't going to be like attaching a bunch of picks just to get off of De'Aaron Fox. Like, not going to happen. They're in a perfect spot. Like, there are few, if any, teams that would be that are happier with their lot in life than the Spurs are right now. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about one of those guys who is in the middle of a very important developmental process, and that is Dylan Harper, everybody's favorite rookie. See you in a second. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There are more live events than ever worth seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part usually isn't deciding what you want to attend. It's actually getting the tickets. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans are turning to Game Time. The app is built to make buying tickets simple, with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive saving opportunities that help you get to the events you want without the usual hassle. My biggest pet peeve is when you think you've found a great deal, get all the way to the checkout, and suddenly the final price looks completely different. Nobody likes the surprise checkout fees. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Today's episode is also brought to you by Quo. Missed calls and slow follow-ups are silent killers for business. That's how money gets left on the table without you even realizing it. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the business communication system built so you never miss a call. Quo helps businesses keep every conversation organized by letting your entire team manage calls and texts from one shared number. No more drop messages, missed opportunities, or disconnected communication. The more conversations you're managing, the easier it is to miss important details. I like that Quo automatically summarizes calls and highlights next steps, which helps teams stay organized and spend less time tracking down information. When money is on the line, always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Alrighty, we are back, and just a reminder about the Everydayer Club. Get Locked On Spurs ad-free with members-only Discord access by joining the Everydayer Club. Join at lockedonspurs.supercast.com. And by the way, if you are new to Locked On Spurs, please be sure to like, share, subscribe. if you're enjoying what we're doing here. It really helps us out. And also, over on wherever you get your podcasts, we exist there as well. Set that thing to auto download and let it roll. All right. Tyler, the producer, Tyler Prince, joins us now. By the way, I wanted to just add to the very end of what I was saying in terms of like the draft picks and maintaining that equity, so to speak, down the line. One of the reasons that, over the last couple of years when the Spurs have done the whole, like, you're trading this pick for a future draft pick, like the one that really sticks out is a couple of years ago when they traded the 8th pick that became Rob Dillingham. By the way, people were so mad at that.
Not
that
happy
guy's like
about
not
it.
even playing.
Yeah, I know.
But they traded that pick to the Timberwolves for like a 2030, 2031, I can't remember. But the whole point of doing all of that is so that they can just line the Victor Wembanyama era with draft picks. Because, like, if you don't do that, you end up being like the Bucks, who traded all of their stuff away to get Drew Holiday. They won a title, which is awesome. Sure. But, like, the Giannis era might be over. And the last several years of the Giannis era have been crap. Relatively speaking. But you understand what I'm saying is that, like, at a certain point, you need draft picks every single year in today's NBA, mostly because of the punitive luxury tax penalties that I talked about. Anyway, that's kind of the importance of, like, when you look at and you say, yeah, San Antonio has draft picks that it can trade, but they're not going to trade all of them because those are going to be super important down the line, and that will kill you, and that will put you in a position where if one angle or approach fails, that you're going to be stuck in a bad spot with Victor down the line, and that's the last thing you want. You want to be able to supplement your roster for as long as you possibly can with this guy around.
Well, it makes sense regardless, right? But especially when you consider that the Thunder have like 40 first-round draft picks over the next 10 years or something crazy like that. I'm exaggerating, but probably not by much. Definitely going to want to make sure you're able to draft help as you NBA ready guys too. Now we're past drafting 19-year-old project players. We're going to be looking at guys in college who are ready to play right now.
Well, you're still going to be drafting best player available, best talent available. Like, I don't think that the Spurs are just like suddenly going to pass over a guy who has a higher ceiling or has like obvious more talent for a guy who's like ready right now. I think that too would be an overreaction. I think there might be a little bit of a tweak in their approach just in terms of they're not going to just shy away from a guy who's 21 or 22 years old or something like that if they do believe that he's right there, whereas before they might have been like, okay, this guy is a little bit lower on our board, but he's 3 years younger. Like, it'll be interesting to see how they do approach this stuff going forward, but I think that they're still very much believers in best player available in the draft, and that's never really a bad approach to it.
I just don't want to get caught in a situation like the Warriors where they drafted guys like way younger than their core, and it just they were not able to figure out how to fit all that together.
That's right.
Now,
well, they just whiffed on dudes.
Oh yeah.
It was more about
James Wiseman was a bad second overall.
If you
pick
whiff
for
on
sure.
dudes, it doesn't matter how old they are.
And we've gotten really lucky because the last couple of draft picks the Spurs have picked have not only been really young but ready to play right now, which brings us to Dylan Harper and his rookie year.
Does. Oh, Dylan, what a rookie season. Our editorial supervisor, Corey Zanoni, our friend who, listen, we're all over the world. I'm in Texas. Tyler's on the East Coast. Corey's in Australia. But he submitted some questions that we're going to run through really quick when it comes to Dylan Harper. We're probably going to get to more Dylan Harper stuff this offseason. We talked a little bit longer on the first topic than I thought we would, but there's so much Dylan Harper stuff to get to. But let's run down this real quick. Go for it, Tyler.
Yeah. So for you, what did we learn about his skills as a league guard this postseason?
Yeah. So I don't know how much we learned as far as a lead guard. I think that he was just unbelievable in his role and specifically that they asked him to come in, be a scorer, be a rebounder, and defend. And I do not remember a prospect in however many years now that I've been paying attention to this stuff whose number one skill in college was finishing at the rim. He was like a 70% finisher at the rim in college on a team who like defenses just clogged the paint against. He was incredible. The way that translated to the NBA is unreal. And granted, there's more space in the NBA, but this dude finished 63% shooting at the rim as a guard, as a 19 and 20-year-old. That number jumped in the postseason up to 66% at the rim as a guard in the playoffs, a 20-year-old no less. I thought he has this unreal balance, like this.
He's so strong for a 20-year-old. So strong.
Super strong, stays on balance, elite change of pace, elite change of direction. He is very clearly not like afraid of the moment. I know that he missed a couple of shots late in the game, in Game 5. There were some mistakes along the way, but like you take that in stride with
genuinely,
a 20-year-old.
Like I know it's whoever steps up, but if you're relying on clutch free throws from a 20-year-old in the NBA Finals, you're not in a great spot.
Well, he wasn't the only one that was missing free throws, but
I know.
But he has such a unique blend of size, strength, balance, quickness, very sneaky, like explosive athleticism once he gets to the rim. We'll get to another part of that question. You mentioned the lead guard. How about that second question from Corey?
Just how good an offense could you build around his ability to get to the rim?
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes hand in hand with the lead guard thing because we see his ability to get to the rim. I think that this is the question and answer that we don't know yet because of his role being so largely defined as a scorer, oftentimes being guarded by secondary defenders. He was a guy that was just like the perfect type of six-man microwave type scorer, especially as the season moved along, especially as the playoffs got here. But he rarely had to facilitate offense, and the flashes we saw did not appear to be as advanced as his scoring acumen, if that makes sense. Like
it does.
He wasn't Steve Nash out there. He wasn't even De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle as facilitators. So that's the part that we don't quite know yet, right? And by the way, that element of the position is the hardest part for guards to come in and execute. It's the playmaker stuff. Like this kid is clearly just a natural scorer. So we saw that outright. But the facilitating part, the running and offense part, we haven't seen that yet. No doubt we will at some point in the near future, but we just haven't quite seen that yet. So it hasn't unfolded in a way that we can clearly define what it's all going to look like, at least in my opinion.
And we got to move on soon here, but real quick, you think he starts next season?
Yeah, and I see the question is, does he need to start next season? And I don't like. I think the word "need" is strong. I don't know. That's the answer to the question. I don't think that it's I don't think it would be a crazy thought to say he's going to come off the bench again. He's going to play a ton. He's going to have more and more opportunities to be a majorly impactful player for this team. But like, it's not out of the question that he comes off the bench again. However, like the pressure, and I'm not talking about external pressure. I'm not talking about, pressure on social media, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about like the team looking at him and saying this guy needs to play as many minutes as we can possibly have him on the floor. And what will be interesting, I think, is, should they make the postseason next year, what it's going to look like. Because over the course of the regular season, there's not going to be any sort of problem getting him the minutes that he needs. And the whole starter or coming off the bench thing is just a mental thing or a status thing that doesn't, it's about the guys who are closing games, not necessarily the guys who are starting games. So you're going to be able to find him minutes during the regular season because of a number of different factors, like You're not De'Aaron Fox, like we saw this year. What did he play? Like 30 minutes a game, 32 minutes a game, something like that, like low 30s. He's not going to be playing more than that. Dylan Harper is going to be playing a lot more than he did this season. So I just think the word need is strong. I'm not saying he's not going to start. We don't know at this point. But the word need, like I just want to be clear, like it's about who finishes these games. It's not about who starts them. And to like being around this team all year, I think that's not something that Dylan himself is super duper concerned about. It never came across that way behind the scenes, at least. Like not at all. I know that Devin Vassell had the remarks about him wanting a bigger role and all this stuff. Dude, these guys are
of course he does
competitive.
It
would be weird. It would be a problem if he didn't want that.
I would be worried if he didn't want more minutes and if he didn't want to get on the floor more. And he's earned them. He's going to get more minutes.
No question.
Quick hot take: if he's coming off the bench next year, front runner for sixth man of the year.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of us on that topic. Coming up next, we're going to get to the top 10 playoff moments in Spurs history. Be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports just like it is in business. Like one thing about the Spurs, and this goes great with the Dylan Harper conversation, one thing that's always stood out is how the organization got everyone pulling in the same direction with every decision. It wasn't just one great player or coach. It was a coordinated effort across the entire organization and made it successful. And the whole goal is winning, right? You do what you can to get there. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/LOCKEDON. All right. We are celebrating Locked On's 10-year anniversary by giving you the top 10 playoff moments in Spurs history. Tyler, would you like to do the honors? I feel like I said at the top, look, to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Locked On Podcast Network, we're going to take a look at some of the Spurs' best moments in playoff history so we can remember that there were indeed some good ones, and it wasn't all bad the way it kind of seems like right now for a lot of people. And like I said, Tyler, you do the honors, man. We'll go back and forth bouncing these around. And also, y'all let us know in the comments, like if we left anything out. I'm sure we did. If you have any that you'd like to submit yourself. All right, go ahead, Tyler.
I'm going to start with the Memorial Day miracle in 1999.
Yeah.
You know, Sean Elliott hitting that shot on his toes with his heels right over the out of bounds line and winning that game for us.
I was at that game. That was one of my early, real, major high stakes like Spurs memories. That was this is back, in the Alamo Dome, and there are 40,000 people in there, and you're just leaving that building with your ears ringing. That one is always going to be kind of a number one. It's tough it's going to be tough to supplant that one, I think. Everybody knows, everyone knows, if you're old enough, of course, where they were for the Sean Elliott Memorial Day miracle. It was great. Another one that I definitely remember where I was for, Tim Duncan's three-pointer against the Suns in 2008. I believe the only three-pointer he took that season. Spurs were down double digits in that game. I think it was game one of their series against the Suns, I believe. And they came back. Tim Duncan, three-pointer. Unbelievable. That one is another one that will go down in history in Spurs lore for sure.
Yeah, my next one's also Tim Duncan. 2014 finals, right before they kick off, he's getting interviewed. They're asking him about, getting back to the finals after losing in 2013. And he just said, "We'll do it this time."
Oh, it was the post-game walk-off after beating the Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. A great one. You never heard Tim Duncan talk like that. That's why it was so memorable, I think.
Quietest championship guarantee. He
Just
said it so
confidence,
nonchalantly.
Just oozing. Just as much as Tim Duncan can ooze confidence, he oozed it on that evening. We're going back to 99. This was like at the time, it's so funny how vividly you remember things from like your childhood. And I was, 12, 13 years old, whatever I was, for the 99 finals. But I so vividly remember Avery Johnson's baseline jump shot that sealed the win. And then like the subsequent Sean Elliott jumping into, I think it was Tim's arms. But I so clearly remember that jumper and the subsequent celebration and the pride of the great Lone Star State, yada, yada. Jay Howard on the radio, man, like, oh, the old days, the old Spurs days. But yeah, for me, it was the Avery Johnson jumper that led to the Spurs' first title in franchise history.
That's a good one. I was 7. Here's one that's like not a play in a game, but is just like lives in my head rent-free. Game 6, 2013. Kawhi Leonard checks in as LeBron James is shooting free throws, and LeBron James just looks very frustrated and said some curse words as Kawhi Leonard checks back into the game.
Yeah, that one. Look, if you're terminally online, everyone knows what that is. But if you're not terminally online, congratulations for being a healthy person, first of all. Second of all, just go Google LeBron James at the free throw line, Kawhi Leonard, whatever, something like that. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard free throw line. That's all you got to put in there, and it'll pop up. But yeah, the camera on LeBron's face the entire time. You don't even see Kawhi Leonard checking in yet. You just see him turn and then just curse to himself. And then the camera immediately cuts to Kawhi Leonard coming back in the game. Just great stuff. All right. I got to go with Manu's block on James Harden, 2017.
Yes.
That one is certainly one that still pops up on the timeline pretty regularly, and one that will live in my head for a long time for sure.
I was at that game.
Okay.
It was crazy. It was, just being in the arena at that. It was such a huge play. Like it just really felt like the game was about to go the other way, and Manu came up with that clutch block. So another Manu one, game winner versus the Warriors in double OT in 2013. Double OT, I think.
No, I don't think so. I think that was regulation. I think
Oh.
if it wasn't regulation, it was 1 over. I think it was regulation though. It's funny when we said like I was at these games. Now I'm looking at these. I'm like I was at however many of these games because I've had
a lot of them.
Privilege
because you're media.
of covering these guys for 15 years now or whatever. Jeez, that's crazy. 16 years, 15, whatever.
You tell me.
It's been a long time. I'm getting old. Yeah, they were down by 6. It was game 1 of that series. They were down by 16 points with like 5 minutes left in the game. Believe it or not, Spurs fans, there was a time when the Spurs were the ones who were coming back and beating people. But yeah, I think it was round 1 against the Warriors. They were down by 16 in the fourth quarter, came all the way back. Manu Ginobili, a high arcing three-pointer with 1.2 seconds left on the clock for the win. Unbelievable. All right, next one. Tim Duncan near quadruple double to close out the Nets in 2003. Many out there still swear to this day that he actually got the quadruple double. People will rewatch that game, relitigate, take their own statistics, and swear up and down to you that he actually got a quadruple double in that game. But yeah, Tim Duncan near quadruple double to close out the Nets in 2003.
So I've gone back and watched that game and counted blocks.
Okay, see, I told you.
I got to 9.
You got to 9.
I got to 9. I didn't see a 10th one, but
okay.
Still,
Thank you for being honest.
crazy all-time game.
Yeah.
From an all-time great to close out a championship, which, I'm going to go just beating the Pistons in the 2005 NBA Finals. Like, that was so hard. It was so hard for them to beat them. And I maybe I'm misremembering this, but I feel like I remember Pop saying, like, can you believe we beat those guys? Like,
that was a knockdown drag out, man. Like, that was I know that it's kind of one of those series where it's like it's one of the lowest rated finals ever because every score was in the 70s. But, like, my goodness, man. The physicality and the willpower that it took to continue going through that series. It went 7 games. It was unbelievable. And by the way, like, game 6, I believe? Big Shot Bob.
Big Shot Bob.
That is the other just outstanding.
Robert Horry, for those that don't know.
It's one of those Robert Horry's 3 against the Pistons. I think, was it game 6, game 5, or game 6? And the fact that Robert Horry also had, like, what was it, 16 points in the fourth quarter and overtime of that game? Like, he was just on a different planet. I did see someone in the chat say Manu Ginobili's dunk.
Grandpa dunk.
Look, it was so great because it was such a retribution because, it's funny. It's a good way to tie up the episode. As we look at De'Aaron Fox's struggles, remembering how bad Manu Ginobili was in the 2013 finals and then coming back and totally redeeming himself. I'm not comparing De'Aaron Fox to Manu Ginobili. Don't worry, I'm not doing that.
Well,
but
I also want to take a second here and acknowledge Manu's responsible for some of the greatest postseason moments. He's also responsible for some really bad ones.
And by the way, we considered doing worst.
We did.
10 worst of all time, but we felt that would be rude. However, I'm telling you all right now, we're going to do that at some point this summer. I think it would just be fun. It would be fun to do when the dust settles, okay? All right. Listen, thank you all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen, where we cover the San Antonio Spurs every single day. Subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you get all the latest episodes. You can find me on Twitter at Matthew_Tynan and over at the Corporate Knowledge newsletter, MatthewTynan.substack.com. Tyler, where can they find you?
You can find me over on Instagram at Tyler Prince Film and running the Locked On Spurs Instagram account. I also write on the Corporate Knowledge newsletter on Substack and have my own if you want to go check out thevideoman.substack.com.
Right on. You can find us all over the place. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built just for you. Get Locked On Spurs ad-free. Head to lockedonspurs.supercast.com to join the club. On video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. For Tyler Prince, for Corey Zanoni, across the world, I'm Matthew Tynan. We will talk to you all tomorrow.